Growing up is hard. The pressure to drink and take drugs is intense and sometimes dangerous. One group of kids has found an extreme way to just say no. They're called straight edge, and they're everywhere, challenging mainstream culture with a mixture of abstinence and vigilance.
We are a group of hardcore kids fighting back.
But this movement, committed to helping kids stay clean, is now being called America's next gang. What happened? And what does it mean for kids on the front lines of growing up? You're an American high school student. Chances are you've tried alcohol, cigarettes, drugs. You're not alone. 80% of high schoolers have tried alcohol. 70% have smoked cigarettes. And almost half have used some sort of illegal drug. It's a youth epidemic, but you have a choice. You can join Straight Edge, a movement built around 3 simple rules. Don't drink, don't smoke, and don't do drugs.
Straight edge is everywhere. It's in every small town, it's in every city, it's everywhere. I think straight edge is a reaction to a perceived out of control world. It's them taking a stand against a culture that they feel is shoving drugs and alcohol and tobacco products down their throats.
In schools and neighborhoods around America, straight edge has become something more. A community, a way of life, and to some, a militant-styled menace. What is straight edge? And what does it mean for kids today?
I grew up in Douglas, Massachusetts. It's a small town south of Worcester. My graduating class was like 78 people. Come on. Because the way I look, like, it's different than what's expected of people normally. So that just by the way I look, people are gonna be like, oh, you're different. People, they don't get why you don't want to drink, why you don't want to smoke, why you don't want to be like everyone else.
Pat Crane, a 19-year-old college student in Massachusetts, has made what he calls a positive choice for his life, and he is doing it with a group. Together, these friends help one another resist the drugs and alcohol that have become an accepted norm of growing up.
I was at school last year, and like the whole first week, it was like kids just like sitting there drinking in their rooms. Like I'd walk in, like try and hang out, and people would just like stare at me.
I used to do drugs in high school. I was pretty heavy into it. I used to like deal drugs and stuff. And then I found straight edge, and I'm a completely different person.
This tight-knit group is how they each found and keep their straight edge beliefs. But they are not alone. They belong to a worldwide movement whose numbers have never been counted. Today, the movement is gathering outside Boston. It's a sort of unofficial straight edge holiday called Edge Day.
Edge Day is just celebrating the edge at this time every year, being proud of who you are.
This celebration happens without most of the usual paraphernalia of a party. That's what makes it straight edge. And all you have to do to join is claim your affiliation.
There's no straight edge recruitment office or membership list. You can't look up straight edge in the yellow pages and then find your local chapter and pay your dues and suddenly you're straight edge. But to be involved, really all you have to do is make that claim, and make that claim for life.
In this world, codes and signs have big meanings. For straight edge, it's the X. A simple, singular icon. What began as a way of identifying underage kids at shows has become a mark of pride for straight edge. At Edgefest, it's all about the X.
Check!
root of the music is punk. But here, the mosh pit is not fueled by drugs or alcohol. Instead, for kids like Pat Crane, this musical mayhem is powered by a gathering of the faithful.
You feel pain when you get hit by someone else. You feel exhilarated when you're climbing on top of other people, and you know you're part of something that not everyone can be a part of.
This is where the message of straight edge gets spread, making it like a kind of hardcore revival meeting.
Will you live your life spending, or will you spend your life living?
This here, all of this, all these bands, this is something more than just music. This is something real that can actually change your life. This is something inside!
It's a positive message, delivered in an intense medium. Dance moves are aggressive and ecstatic. Bands and their fans divide the mic. Most of all, it's a place to release the pressures of being young.
It's a positive way to get out your violence, get out your feelings.
You're not in your normal phase of mind. You're just having fun. You're letting everything out. It's good. I'd probably be crazy if I didn't go to shows.
For Pat, it's the only place he feels truly free.
When I'm at a show, it's probably the most exhilarating feeling in the world. I take out all my frustration and everything I'm like mad at. That's where I deal with my problems, and that's how I deal with them. Buy it for me, I'll get it. You either buy it for me or you don't.
The positive, self-affirming feeling of straight edge is liberating in a world where kids feel they have to fit in. It is, in essence, a brotherhood of outsiders.
This is, one of my many straight edge tattoos, It's really the only thing I really believe in life. We're all getting the same thing. It's like a friendship thing,
What are you saying? I'm not in your club? I want to be in your club. I would say that, yeah, my friends are like my extended family. I know they're going to be there for me, and I know they're always going to, have my back whenever I need it.
Straight edge brotherhood.
Forever true, man.
You're in the club,
For Pat, he found he needed this new family after tragedy took root in his own. It happened when his father died.
He drove himself away from me and my sister by drugs and alcohol. What I was first told is that he had mixed up medications, but what truly happened, my relatives didn't really want to tell me at first, is that he ended up committing suicide. I think I have an understanding that not many people realize, and it comes to affect your life as a whole. I knew from then on that I wanted to be straight edge for life. I like what I am, I like what I'm doing, and I like where I'm going.
Pat and his friends are what straight edge calls posse, meaning they demonstrate their values by living a positive lifestyle and going against the tide of alcohol and drugs that kill thousands of teenagers a year.
Positivity is really an expression of the core values of straight edge. I'm not going to be a militant person. I'm not going to try to shove my beliefs down somebody's throat. I'm going to set a positive example, and just through my example, I'm going to try to change the world. But you have another branch of straight edge that's more hardcore.
The other side of straight edge, a militant minority that believes violence is justified in this revolution. They have gathered headlines and incidents connected to everything from beatings to bombings, even murder, and have brought the attention of law enforcement, parents, and other criminal gangs. What is straight edge for kids today? safe refuge or a violent subculture? The answer is being fought out in communities across the country. At Boston's Northeastern University, a group of straight-edge college kids are gathering for a weekly meeting. They call themselves Hammered, and they are a campus-wide organization that provides alternative ways to have fun without getting drunk.
We've got a meeting on Monday, and then the next Monday, then maybe we could do paintball next Thursday.
And I would like to try to do a ski trip sometime too. I've been wanting to do that.
I think it's harder to meet people a lot of times if you're not interested in drinking or interested in going to a bar or something, because that's what a lot of your peers are doing.
I mean, you know, if you come into class on a Monday, everyone's talking about how they got so drunk that weekend, you know?
At least once a week, we have people throwing up in our bathrooms. Last night, a girl got taken away by the ambulance, and she's probably still in the hospital.
In today's world, the pressures of being young can be overwhelming. Getting drunk, getting high, and losing control is the accepted norm.
This is just ridiculous to have it be a normal, like, standard for everyday kind of, I don't know, activity when it shouldn't be that way. Your focus could be on so many other things. It's definitely like the social pressures are there, and you do feel like you're giving something up, but at the end of the day, I feel like I made the right choice for myself.
It's nice to have somewhere to go when you're not drinking, you're not pressured. It's just nice to have a safe zone, which is what Hammered, I think, is.
Hammered is taking a different route. While other kids are out drinking, Hammered plans activities to provide a cleaner way of having fun. Movie nights, hockey games, and wiffle ball, amongst others. But tonight, they're going old school.
Tonight we're going bowling at Sacco's. Gonna do some can open bowling. What do you guys want to do for teams? You're four. There you go.
You know, I wanted to start something new, and that's why I started Hammered, the show.
Hammered was founded at Northeastern University by Ken Procaccianti.
As it stands right now, in the youth culture, there really is no decision. It's either drink and do drugs and be accepted, or don't and feel alienated. So I came up with an idea for an organization called Hammered that would showcase people that were having fun and just happened to be doing it without drugs or alcohol.
For each of them, straight edge has been a safe refuge, a place where they could still be cool, but do it on their own terms. Hammered as an organization has ambitions to spread to other colleges. It wants to be a new alternative, not just for straight edge, but for kids across America. The straight edge movement has drawn legions of mostly boys to its anti-drug and alcohol message. But to understand where it's headed, you have to look at where it came from. In the 1950s, post-war migration to the suburbs created comfortable middle-class communities whose values were conservative, stable, and square. Rebellion was almost inevitable. In the 1960s, a counterculture youth rejected their parents' values both politically and recreationally. It became an era of experimentation, especially with drugs. And you were either part of the revolution or you weren't.
Drag it, man. Try anything once. Shake this square world and blast off for Kicksville.
But the party would take its toll, and soon some kids wanted to try something else. In the 1980s, straight edge emerged as an appealing fusion of self-control and in-your-face protest. Yet it began by accident, from a single lyric by the band Minor Threat in 1981. The song, a declaration of an individual choice, lasted 45 seconds, but generations to follow would take it and make it their own.
Straight edge really did emerge from one song that set out the values of straight edge, but it wasn't ever intended to be a movement. It must have tapped into something that was going on in our culture at the time, but it's contradictory in the sense that these kids are rebelling by living out what every middle-class parent's dreams are, in a sense, for their children.
Inadvertently, a movement had begun, giving rise to a subculture. and almost inevitably, a militant arm emerged, in part because of the man behind this mask.
We are a group of artists, ups, punk rockers, skaters, hardcore kids fighting back. We are your children raised on Ritalin and Prozac, biting the hand that's reared us.
Life is tough, so get tougher, otherwise it's gonna chew you up and spit you out, you know, and that's always kind of been my mentality.
His name, Elgin James, and in the early 90s, his stomping ground was Boston, Massachusetts. Elgin became straight edge at 13, rebelling against his adoptive parents, who were 60s activists and pot smokers. By 17, he had run away and was living homeless in Boston. Straight edge kept him off drugs, but it also became a means of survival.
So lived right here, right on that second story up there. No heat, no hot water, no electricity. So this pretty much is where it all began. There used to be, you know, crack dealers on this street, you know, and that's when we started hatching the plan of, you know, how we were gonna survive.
The plan was simple: steal what he needed from the criminals who dealt drugs in his front yard.
I wasn't gonna victimize anyone innocent. My plan was to victimize the victimizers, which is how we started robbing drug dealers.
It was the perfect straight edge crime, buoyed by a kind of Robin Hood spirit. The money went to Elgin and his crew, and then to charities and straight edge bands. It was a violent means to an end.
Yeah, you know, my parents had marched with Martin Luther King, so they're pacifists. I got turned on to Huey P. Newton, Stokely Carmichael, and Malcolm X. But every kind of movement does have to have a violent side, because you realize pacifism usually doesn't work.
In the decentralized, unofficial world of straight edge, Elgin and his friend John Buckley began building a more well-defined crew, one that went far beyond the goals and choices of kids who called themselves positive. They gave this new harder edge its own name, FSU.
FSU stands for Friends Stand United, Forever Stand United, but it originally started as it up.
I wanted to be involved in a straight edge that had balls to it, which is hard as nails. It wasn't posy, it wasn't about community in the sense of like live and let live, it was you're an army.
This new straight edge army moved in on Boston's youth battleground, Lansdowne Street, where Elgin and John worked as bouncers at a club, and drugs, alcohol, and wild partying was the norm.
So this is where we came to do the cleaning up. Basically, we were the ones that kept the sons and daughters safe, keeping the drugs out of the clubs.
For straight edge vigilantes, they were in the perfect position, beating up drunk kids and punishing the drug pushers.
That's where you know, a drug dealer coming in, chances are he's gonna come on our radar all of a sudden, like, okay, that guy's got something up. We're gonna follow that guy into the bathroom. We're gonna smash his face into the porcelain toilet bowl. We're gonna empty out the drugs out of his pockets and flush them, and then we're gonna take his big bowl of, roll of cash. And then that's probably gonna last time you're gonna see the guy.
There are two ways of doing things. They gave us what we wanted and never came back, or we beat them, took what we wanted, and just turned them over to the cops. That's it. And so few ever came back.
This guy right here? Roll my ass.
The furor on Lansdowne Street was captured in a video called Boston Beatdown.
Given nothing, we are taking everything, making this world a place of our own.
Laced with interviews with Elgin, it's a kind of documentary on the state of American youth culture. The director, Ronan Morris, is now a Boston lawyer.
The majority of the problems that were out there on the street were alcohol related. But if you look a little further, what you're really seeing is it's American culture. It's, it's our society, whether you want to admit to it, whether you want to ignore it.
The violence was meant to shine a mirror on the society they saw with straight edge eyes. But it also brought attention and worse on Elgin and his crew.
People call FSU a gang or say that, like I'm a gang member, like a violent thug. Like we don't deal drugs, we don't do drive-by shootings. It's basically just a group of kids looking out for each other and watching out for each other.
That's just us in front of the rap years and years ago. A couple of them are in jail, and then there are brothers that both passed away.
Within exactly 2 weeks from one another.
Yeah. I can't believe that a lot of us are alive is what it comes down to. And that's horrible for those of us that have passed away. But for a lot of it, mostly comes down to like, wow, most of us should be dead.
For Elgin, it was time to move on.
I've done my time, I've done my thing. I gave a couple decades to this. And I'm still straight edge, still will always be straight edge. I'm not gonna kick in the door of a crack house anymore. My time with that is done.
Elgin moved to Hollywood, and John started a poetry press. But what they started in Boston wouldn't just go away. The militant side had taken hold, and it was heading off to new battlegrounds.
Looking back on it with 20/20 vision, yeah, it probably was eventual that somebody was going to end up getting killed.
Its darkest hour was ahead. In the suburbs of Salt Lake City, not everything is what it seems. Jeremy Nelson is a homeowner, a husband, and a proud father. He was once also devoted to straight edge before he made a break from the movement.
I was straight edge for, the majority of my childhood. I wasn't going to be like my father, and he did things like drinking and drugs and smoking and all those things. And I decided early on that I didn't want to do any of those.
Jeremy got into bands and immersed himself in every aspect of straight edge. Now a family man, he sells what's left over of those days on eBay and regrets how it all changed.
I wanted to get away from it when I started to see it become gang-related.
Some people just walk away from straight edge, but Jeremy Nelson did something more radical.
Bulletproof vest, keep me from getting shot.
He became a cop. Jeremy's inside knowledge gets put to use every day, tracking gang activity. Recently, he stumbled on this abandoned factory where he found a version of a turf war. Graffiti that showed straight edge in a verbal battle with other gangs.
You can see where some of the other gangs have tagged over it. They say drug free. The other gangs will come in and say you are fags. You can see the insane clown posse stuff, weed is good. And this is kind of what fuels a lot of those battles between those two.
Graffiti is how gangs claim territory and even send specific threats. And that is precisely the problem now. Whether or not a portion of straight edge kids think of themselves as gang members, if other gangs see them that way, they become drawn into the gang world. In the US, more than 700,000 youth are part of street gangs. And though Salt Lake City may seem an unlikely center for gangs, they've staked their claim here. Now, straight edge is one of them.
When we were investigating other gangs and other crimes and stuff like that, the word straight edge would come up occasionally. We were wondering, well, who is this group, or what are they doing, or what is a straight edger? And they're saying, hey, look, we don't do drugs, we don't do alcohol, we don't do tobacco, we don't have premarital sex. But there was just something that didn't stick right in my mind, that this isn't just a typical group.
Detective Brent Larson and Sergeant Stephen Woldridge investigated the violent acts that got the group in trouble. They tracked more than 40 violent incidents, including a mob attack, arson at a McDonald's, and the bombing of a mink farm.
I think the biggest realization for me was probably about the time when they caught the guys, was he drinking a beer at the Salt Lake State Fairgrounds and busted a bottle and then tried to carve an X in this guy's back. That's when it was just like, whoa, these guys are really kind of out of control. Looking back on it with 20/20 vision, wow, yeah, it probably was eventual that somebody was going to end up getting killed.
Someone did. His name was Bernardo Represa. He was 15 years old. Sergeant Woldridge took us to the scene of the crime, 9 years to the day after it happened.
It was Halloween night, a Saturday night in 1998. We had literally thousands of people out cruising around. A group of 30 to 40 straight edge gang members and their associates were hanging out here in the street corner.
Straight edge kids were yelling taunts at some of the passing cars, including one carrying several local gang members. The car stopped. Kids got out, and a punch was thrown that set off a brawl. Soon, it was 30 straight edge kids against 7.
There was a stabbing that occurred over in that parking lot. The victim of the homicide, who ran southbound across the street, he was chased down by 4 straight edge gang members. He fell to the ground. He was struck several times in the head with a baseball bat, and then he was struck with a spring billy and stabbed.
Bernardo Represa bled to death on the street. 2 straight edge teenagers were convicted in the killing.
It was a rude awakening that a group not traditionally identified as a traditional street gang was involved in something as serious as this. That really was a wake-up call.
For the first time in the nation, straight edge became a certified gang. Yet to this day, the Salt Lake murder is the only killing definitively attributed to straight edge. While alcohol alone is implicated in the top 3 causes of death for teenagers: drunk driving, suicide, and homicide. Had everyone gone too far?
I think it's unfortunate that straight edge has been labeled a gang in some places because it produces 2 outcomes. One, it attracts kids to straight edge who might want to be involved in gang-like behavior. And 2, it gives straight edge a bad name for those kids who are simply trying to live out a positive lifestyle.
In Salt Lake City today, the consequences of the murder live on, even for kids trying to reclaim a positive straight edge. For Matt, Chris, and Alex, they just want to move on.
We are cooking enchiladas, and they are vegan. And look at this. This is chicken, but it's not made from chickens.
They are part of a large vegan straight edge movement, meaning that in addition to no drugs or alcohol, they also don't eat meat or dairy. It's a faction in a movement with many faces.
There's Republican Christian straight edge kids. There's vegan straight edge anarchist kids.
I don't think it's a matter of like signing up for a specific club of straight edge. It's more about who you are as a person. And straight edge is just a label. It's a lifestyle.
Their vegan diet reflects an intention to do no harm to themselves or to the world, which in itself refutes the gathering image of straight edge as a violent movement.
The people who have that perception are people who've been misled by sensationalist news stories that focus on crews, fights, drama, things that have absolutely nothing to do with us.
Matt, Chris, and Alex live their beliefs. They are anarchists who try to live outside the system. They squat in this abandoned building, avoid using money, and live off the grid. Yet even for them, the gang label hangs around what they do and who they will encounter on the straight edge journey, as it does for anybody choosing to enter this movement now. Straight edge was now caught squarely between its positive and militant sides, and the battle over whether it really deserves to be a gang moved to new fronts. Reed High School, Sparks, Nevada. According to its authorities, this suburban district school has become an epicenter of straight edge and the violence that now gathers around it. The halls here are like schools all across the country, but more heavily guarded. A vice principal of discipline and a contingent of full-time armed police officers patrol every day.
Because we've had some shootings, we're looking at Columbine, you're looking at Virginia Tech, where you're seeing fatalities, that's a little scary. A lot of it is just being proactive and trying to be on top of everything.
But what they are really concerned about is gangs. And because of dozens of incidents this year alone involving straight edge kids, they are watching the movement carefully.
This year, it felt like straight edge was starting to
emerge again. There started to be more problems. Literally, it was like an entire week or two of problem every single day. What will happen is they will get about 15 guys and circle around one, and then they beat up on one guy. And they usually don't just use their hands. It's usually, like I said, pepper spray, brass knuckles, and some sort of weapon.
All right, guys, let's get going. Let's go.
Hackbush and his officers patrol the halls looking for evidence of gangs, including straight edge. Sometimes clues as apparently inoffensive as a t-shirt that says drug-free.
It says drug-free. What other message, more positive message, would you want at your school? Well, you're right. Until there's about 5 to 10 of them wearing the same exact drug-free sweatshirt and wearing that, and then that's their outfit.
But such vigilance from the law can be confusing to kids who look to straight edge as a way to stay out of trouble. On a quaint suburban street in Sparks, Zeke looks like an ordinary kid. A Reed High School junior, Zeke learned about straight edge not long ago, and like many kids, felt like he had found a home.
It was really eye-opening when I found out, like, on the internet and stuff that, like, straight edge is all over. At first I thought, oh, maybe it's just Reno or something, and I found out it's all over, like, Boston and Salt Lake and everything. I found it's all over the world even. It meant a lot being part of something so, like, big.
Well, he's always been a little rebel. I guess not a bad rebel, but he's never been a mainstream kid because he thinks for himself.
Annette, who doesn't abstain from alcohol and tobacco, had to raise Zeke on her own after Zeke's father died.
Well, he's like your typical teenager because he goes to school and he has friends and doesn't want to clean his room. But on the other side, he's not typical because he's made these choices to not drink and do drugs and not poison his body.
Annette, as with many parents, is caught between what seems like a good choice for her kid and the reputation she hears about from Reed High School.
I worry that someone would come to him and try and recruit him to another level. I hope that I've educated him, not to fall in with the wrong people.
I'm a smart person. I know how to say no. I know the right path for myself.
Zeke's commitment means making choices about his identity and his friends. But in the current environment of Reno, Nevada, those choices can pull one into an unintended conflict. Reno is the new front line for straight edge and for law enforcement, schools, and parents, trying to figure out where the movement is headed. Reno, Nevada. 24-hour casinos, free-flowing liquor, even legalized prostitution. A modern-day Sin City. It's also a new front line for straight edge. Tony Battle, a tattoo artist and singer, helps keep guard.
I do pretty much every straight edge tattoo in this town. But I just won't tattoo straight edge on anyone. If I don't know them, I've never seen them before, then I usually say no. I don't want to give them a tattoo that they'll eventually end up just mean nothing to them, scar their body with something they're not going to live for.
Tattoos have been a mark of rebellion and initiation across history and cultures. The same is true for straight edge. Bryant, Tony's 19-year-old co-band member, is getting his latest mark of straight edge commitment. Like many, he found straight edge at Reed High School. And like others, his parents didn't care for it.
I found out about straight edge actually right before my freshman year at Reed. And then when I started going to Reed, I met more people that were also straight edge. When I turned 18, got tattooed, and my mom kicked me out.
Bryant joined and moved in with Tony's band, AFB, Armed for Battle. they're as tight as a group gets.
Well, we live together, we eat together, we tour together, we hang out together every day. We're probably closer than other families.
But it is precisely this brand of brotherhood, along with the music, the ink, and the outsider stance, that makes the Reno community look at Straight Edge as its fastest growing gang.
Give it a nice tape job.
Especially the city police.
Police have suspicion to pull you over for anything, they will. And if they find out or even think that you're straight edge, they'll put you on gang file.
I had a straight edge sticker on my truck, and they put me on gang file just because I had a sticker on my truck.
While police and maybe other people as well are trying to waste their time on us, there's other types of crime being committed, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and everything, but somehow we're the bad guys. What about the drunk driver out there, you know? That's not being pulled over by any police officers. What about those guys?
Yeah, this is a belief in a lifestyle. It's not a gang whatsoever. I don't even know why they consider this a gang.
That's a question they may not get to answer for themselves. The Reno Gang Unit deals with many of the nation's worst gangs. MS-13, the Crips, Aryan Brotherhood. America has more than 21,000 gangs.
We had Joker from MS was in there.
But should Straight Edge be one of them? And if so, what are they capable of? It's a question they are still trying to figure out.
This is just all the, stuff that we've accumulated over the years of dealing with gang members. Axes. The brass knuckles are really the big thing with Straight Edge to use in their fights.
They started out with just, simple adolescent fights, meeting in a park and, just fighting. Where we actually started to get concerned is when they started doing the 6-on-1, where they would 6 straight edge guys and they would ambush a kid.
Then, in 2005, an incident occurred that scared the police into paying attention. In a parking lot monitored by security cameras, a particularly gang-like fight broke out between a group of straight-edge kids and some high school kids.
They showed up at a local casino and beat a kid down and used a shovel on him when he was down on the ground. That goes to malice. That shows that you are intending to inflict more than just pain. You are going to inflict harm, and serious harm.
That was enough to put Straight Edge on the unit's criminal watch list. And since then, they have logged dozens of incidents.
We didn't want to say that everybody who is claiming straight edge or has the straight edge beliefs are a threat to our community here. The majority of people aren't. There are a small percentage of people who are spinning out of control.
I will not leave the county without first obtaining prior permission from my probation officer.
16-year-old Zeke is now in the system, one of dozens of kids whose affiliation with Straight Edge helped land them in the Reno criminal gang file.
This one's kind of funny. Drugs, alcohol, and other harmful substances I will not use, purchase, possess.
Zeke got probation for writing graffiti and for violating his town's 10 p.m. curfew for minors. Because of a Straight Edge tattoo on his ankle, his misdemeanors were elevated.
It must have been a month after he got his curfew ticket, I got a notice in the mail that says, your son is now in a gang file. And I was like, wow, what does that mean? It bothers me that he would be in a gang file because he's not a gangster.
I think they got it completely mixed up. It's just a bunch of guys and kids making their point that they cannot do drugs, not drink alcohol, not smoke, and be completely fine and have tons of fun.
For now, Zeke has to visit his probation officer every 2 weeks.
I hate to go up there, all the way up there and go through the metal detectors, and then every step he takes now, somebody will be looking for him to be doing something, or if he's out and about having fun with his friends, I mean, are they gonna look at him firsthand and say, there's a straight edge kid, he's up to no good?
Saturday night, Reno. At the house shared by AFB, kids are gathering to hang out. Zeke is among them, and talk turns to their gang status.
Did you read that newspaper article?
Yeah.
They're like white suburban terrorists.
We definitely don't have any gang meetings or like.
We're the most unorganized people you'll ever meet. Frats right up the street, they're all organized. They have meetings, they all do stuff as a group. I'm pretty sure if one fights, they all fight, you know? That's organized stuff.
Zeke is still on the edge of this group, but he understands the commitment and that this group must look after and defend itself against mounting opposition.
No one, straight edge or not, I can guarantee you don't want to see your friend in the ground. You don't want to see your friend get beat up. You know, our reputation just keeps growing because if someone messes with one of them, you mess with all of them.
It's very important. Like if you fall back, you're gonna have those kids that catch you. They're gonna be there to support you.
Tonight, like lots of kids around the country, they're passing the time cruising their town's streets. Nevada has ranked the nation's most dangerous state in America 4 years running, much of it related to drugs and alcohol. It's a fact that straight edge kids see as typical of what they're up against.
Reno is known for gambling. Dead. Second highest suicide rate.
A lot of drugs are done in the city.
There's a lot of methamphetamine in the making. Every bad drug that you can think of is there.
Reno's gang unit patrols are well aware of this. Officers Pat Blass and Mike Salerno cruise the same streets.
It's a crossroads town.
But now, they also have to keep an eye on anyone who claims straight edge. It's validated as a gang, and often seems to act like one.
And straight edge, although it is a great concept and it's a great movement and the ideals are good, you do have fanatics that take it too far. They engage in criminal activity like any other gang would, but they feel that they're righteous, and that's where it becomes convoluted.
The cops accuse us of being violent people, but it's like our reputation grows out of defense for each other. It didn't start out like that. If someone's messing with one of our friends, you know, we don't want that to happen. And just like we're there for each other no matter what.
You have to defend yourself. Like there's only so much one person can take, and sooner or later you end up defending yourself.
In Reno, as cops and straight edge kids circle each other, the question remains: how far will straight edge go in defense of its principles? Tonight, in Reno, Nevada, a major hardcore show is bringing together local bands. This is where bands like AFB, Armed for Battle, get to spread their ethos, one reflected in their name.
Self-explanatory. We live in a war every day. War against drugs, violence, war against whatever.
The shows are also a chance for Reno's straight edge community to defy their image as a violent gang, to show that their world is about good, clean fun. At the downtown venue, all the alcohol is put away.
Covering the bar up. It's a straight edge show. No exposure to alcohol.
Outside, the sign of the X is everywhere, including on Reno high schooler Zeke and his friends.
It's packed. A lot more packed than I thought it would be. That means a lot of people are coming out to support this. Lots of kids.
But straight edge kids are not the only ones coming tonight.
Just distributing people's different opinions on things.
It's all political propaganda, huh?
To an extent, some of it.
The gang unit keeps tabs on the movement.
You know, just.
You mind if I take some of these?
No, not at all.
And on the kids.
So we want you guys to have a good time. We just don't want any problems. So there's a couple bad apples out there, then giving you guys a bad name then.
The police don't understand that if we're at a show having a good time, you know, you'll have people come in that dislike straight edge and come in and try to pick a fight with us.
Out here in Reno, the shows are more aggressive. Dance moves look like martial arts, and kids hide behind hockey masks. in part to protect their faces. Blood is drawn, but it's an accident. A casualty of the rough and tumble hardcore dance moves. Outside, more gang unit officers have shown up, including Sergeant Frazier.
We just got a report. A young lady called and said she was being harassed by 5 females out in front of the business.
These kids have been so well behaved all night. It's not, I mean, good. They're very in their element.
Inside, the crowd gets unruly, but it's just for play. Part of the state of emotional release.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a good night for everyone. But is it good enough to make the Reno community reconsider the straight edge gang label? Will kids like Zeke be able to pursue their straight edge beliefs peacefully? Or will they emerge as violent antagonists in American youth culture?
I support Ezekiel in his beliefs, you know, like any parent would. I like him not drinking. I like him not doing drugs. I worry about where straight edge may go. Will the gangsters take over? Will it go that way, or will it become just a lifestyle without the fanaticism or the radicalism of, you know, their beliefs?
For Zeke, the commitment is something you can never back down from. And that's what keeps straight edge alive.
And I'd be letting down like all my friends that I call my family pretty much. And then I'd be letting down mainly myself for setting such high commitment to myself and then just throwing it away. I'd be letting down a lot of people.
But the real future of straight edge will depend on who will choose to claim this identity. It may be in the hands of kids like Adam, Pierre, and Alex, 8th graders who live in suburban Boston.
Kind of the 3 amigos. Just knowing that like you are the future of straight edge and it's up to you to like carry on the values and traditions. It's a pretty cool responsibility.
They already know that straight edge can help them navigate a tough world for American teenagers. A world in which the average age a boy takes his first drink is 11.
I've experienced alcohol, smoked cigarettes for like 2 years, chain smoking, marijuana, got in trouble with the police from it, smoked it a lot. I've experienced all of that, and I've come from that and want to change, you know? This is how I live my life. No mercy for my enemies, no mercy for their souls. And then this is the chorus. This is how I live my life. No hesitation, no delay. And it's definitely something to mosh to.
Yeah. This is how I live my life. No mercy for my enemies, no mercy for their souls.
There's 2 sides of a straight edge, like the militant side and the positive side. The positive side is kind of like it's a choice, you know. It's just, that's all it is. It's just a choice. The militant side is kind of like, we need to clean up this country, kill drugs, they're scum. In the future for straight edge, for us, our generation, I'm not gonna go out and kill people, but I'm also not gonna, like, tolerate drugs around me and the ones that I love.
Straight edge isn't going anywhere. It's going to be, I think, a permanent fixture of youth culture. And that tension within straight edge between the positive and militant sides, I think, will always exist.
I think the problem with the struggle for the soul of what straight edge is or might be is that there's no answer. You know, it means something different to every single person. All we really have in common are the words, straight edge.
Just how straight edge kids define those words will determine if they will be just another problem or to be part of the solution for kids facing an already challenging world.
Boston straight edge, Massachusetts straight edge, you guys are the best. Hardcore, you are the best, you saved my life. Happy Edge Day!